Hey everyone, it's Monday, May 13th, and welcome to Chatting with Agnes and Cecilia. Today's guest is David Phillips from Custom Development Solutions, Inc., and he has his colleague Jeff Jernigan joining us as well. Today's topic, capital campaigns for 501c organizations of all sizes. Chatting with Agnes and Cecilia is brought to you by Tulips, LLC, 501c Consulting and Association Management Services. We're also a proud supporter of the 501c League, a virtual membership organization for all 501c professionals. So welcome everyone, welcome David and Jeff, and I'm here with my good friend and colleague Agnes, who's joining us all the way from Nigeria today. Say hello, Agnes.
Hello, everyone. Agnes Amos Coleman here. I'm an author, a consultant, and a mentor with 501c League and a consultant with Tulips.
Great. Thanks, Agnes. And David and Jeff, please introduce yourselves.
It's good to be with you. I'm David Phillips. I've been doing capital campaigns all over the world for 35 years, and I want to talk a little bit about that today. And Jeff's here to help me as my technology man.
My name is Jeff Jernigan. I'm the Director of Marketing here at CDS, and so we actually spend the time doing our marketing as well as the marketing for our clients. So,
great.
David said I handle IT as well.
Wow, a man of many hats. Thanks for joining us, Jeff and David. So I'm Cecilia Sepp. I am the principal and founder of Tulips, LLC. And I am very excited to be here with David and Jeff because their company, which we also call CDS Inc., is a partner with Tulips. And so we are exploring different ways we can all work together to make 501cs better. So David, today's topic, capital campaigns. You said that's a very broad topic, which I know it is, but what are some of the things that a capital campaign involves for any organization?
Well, a lot of people think of capital campaigns as building a building or something that's a physical asset, simply because if you took an accounting course, they're going to tell you capital assets are cars, machinery, buildings, equipment, land. But capital really is just working capital. It's money to do whatever you need to do. So many times somebody will call me and say, we need to build a building. And I'll say, well, is there anything else you need in the next 5 years? Because you're not going to be able to go back to your people to do something different if you don't factor that in now. So the best thing to do is a strategic planning exercise where you at least say, if money weren't an object, or if Santa Claus fell down that chimney over there, what would he give us for the next 5 or 10 years? And how much does that cost? And then you begin to chunk it and try to put it into manageable pieces. And that's how you come up with your case for support. What are the things that you really need, and how are they going to drive you forward, and how are they going to take you to the next level? And once you find out what your case is, you want to talk to your constituents and see if they agree with that, if they resonate with that. And then once you have a case that everybody feels like they can rally around, you've got to have a leadership team of volunteers to help you go out and ask for the pledges. Over 3 to 5 years usually is the case. So you want some strong leadership, people who will give large gifts themselves and who will go out and ask their friends and colleagues and business associates to support it. And you want people who are well respected and well connected, because other people won't ask as many questions or wonder whether this is a good thing if you have prominent people advocating for you. So you definitely need a great cause or a case for support, and then you need great leadership. The next thing you need is donors. You gotta have somebody with some money that might consider giving it to you. And so there's a great deal of work that goes into finding out and isolating who the donors are, whether they've given to you before. If they've given to you before, clearly they have an interest in what you're doing, or they have an interest in a person that asked them to support something else that you did. And so those are a little easier, but you want to find a much bigger pool and a broader pool, and then see if you can find connectivity with the leadership team that you put together to run the campaign. And oftentimes people feel like the board of directors are going to be the ones that run the capital campaign and offer the leadership. That is usually not the case. because a lot of times small nonprofits in particular grow up from around somebody's kitchen table, and they recruit their personal friends and preachers, teachers, and policemen, and folks that want to help the community, but that don't necessarily have a lot of money or deep pockets. And so we do a feasibility and planning study before we do a capital campaign to try to go out and talk to 100 people or so to identify who the best potential donors and leaders might be. And if we're lucky, we try to go visit with those potential leaders or donors to see whether they care enough to get involved. And once we have that, those three things, the case, the leadership, and the donors identified, we have a plan that's been developed over 50 years that works every time if you apply the principles in the plan. So that's about as simplistic an explanation as I can give, is that you come up with a strategic vision for what you need, then you find the leadership, and then you look for the donors, and then you organize it in such a way that you're going from a time where you're asking a few people for an enormous gift across a continuum to where you're asking for more modest gifts. And at the end, you're asking an enormous number of people for a small gift.
Right.
And my experience is that about 100 of those gifts will make up 99% of the money, whether you're doing a $10 billion campaign for Stanford University or Harvard, or whether you're doing a $1 million campaign for your church. You can't get lots of people to do anything. So you've got to find a few people to do a lot. And generally, there are a few people that are far more blessed than others, and that's where you start.
And you start getting that. So you need a goal, you need buy-in, and then you need a plan. So how long does your typical capital campaign last?
Well, for a normal, most campaigns are between about $3 and $10 or $12 million, simply because that's where most nonprofits are. We certainly have hospitals that are going to run a $100 million campaign, or research university might run a $1 billion campaign. But most YMCAs, Habitat affiliates, smaller organizations are going to run a campaign in the $3 to $5, $6, $7 million range.
Well, but what my question was, like, timing. So
Right.
How long would it take, as opposed to how much money you're looking for? Because that's going, of course, to depend on the size of the org.
Well, those two are directly related.
Okay.
If you're trying to raise $100 million, you're not going to do it in a year.
Right. Okay.
But
So
if
that's
you're,
what we're
if you're
trying to get at.
trying to raise $5 million, you can probably do that in a year.
Mhm.
You've got the resources.
So you're kind of looking at, like, I've heard a lot of capital campaigns run 3 to 5 years.
Well, the pledge, there's the solicitation period where you're going out to ask for the pledges and the gifts. And then there's the pledge payment period that usually lasts 3 to 5 years.
Okay.
And once somebody has the pledges, if you get the pledges in place for a church, for instance, a bank, if they see that those are good pledges and they're signed and they're performing, a bank will usually lend you the money to build the building. And so you don't have to wait until all the money has come in. You can use the pledges to pay the mortgage payments as you're going along. And so that's often what people do.
So it sounds like pledges could almost be collateral. Oh, sorry, Agnes.
That's okay, Cecilia. Go ahead. I was going to just ask a question, but go ahead.
Sure. Well, okay, so I'll ask mine. It sounds like pledges can be collateral at the bank then. And then
Absolutely.
And then Agnes, what was your question?
No, I was just curious, because we play in the space of this 501c, what value would you like to share with us that our 501c colleagues or associates or partners could benefit from when they're looking at a capital campaign like yours? What kind of value would you say it's, this kind of campaign brings to the table that would benefit them as a 501c to use your business or to use your organization or your services to deliver this project? Because I think they really need to understand the value that it brings for them to even reach out to you. And we want to make sure, because I find it very fascinating what you've just shared, and we really need to be able to sell that value to them so that they can know how to reach out. So what value would you say this brings to the table? Thank
you. That's a great question. And most of the organizations that we go to work with, if it's a church with 1,000 members, they say, well, we need $1 million. Let's ask everybody for 1,000. So part of it is just knowing how to structure it and how to set it up and how to move through the process. But most organizations that are small little nonprofits do a lot of what I call friend raisers. They try to have a gala, or they try to have a golf tournament, and it exhausts the volunteers and the staff, and it doesn't raise a lot of money when you net out what it costs to do it, and you look and see what the proceeds are. You might only make $10,000.
And then the power went out. Unfortunately, we had a huge technological blow up, but we were able to get everybody back together so we could finish up our discussion on capital campaigns for any size 501c organization. Hi, and we're back after our power outage, which led to a major recording malfunction. When last we were with you, Agnes had just asked an incredibly well-layered question about the value that talking with somebody like David and Jeff can bring to a 501c organization. And David had just given a really good example about how you can do a friend raiser, and that can lead sometimes to raise as much as $10,000 with a friend raiser. So David, if you'd like to finish up that question for us, we'd appreciate it.
Thank you very much. It was a good question. What I was saying is that most nonprofits grow up around somebody's kitchen table. They start it and they take friends and neighbors, and they just build a movement on their own based on people they know and that they can ask to support. And they don't usually tell them that fundraising is going to be a part of their job. They don't have a whole lot of orientation. And so one of the things that ends up happening when they need to raise money, they have special events that they call fundraisers, but they're actually friend raisers in a sense that a lot of people come, but you don't raise a lot of money from it. You might have to spend a lot of staff time and a lot of volunteer time exhausting yourself, and the event itself might cost $15,000 and you only raise $25,000, so you're left with only $10,000. And so one of the things that is extraordinary about doing a capital campaign is you go out and you get a separate group of leaders other than the board. Usually, maybe there are a few board members on it, but you go out and get a secondary group of leaders who are influential and affluent to join a team of about 10. And if each of them go to see about 10 of their friends, you don't wear any one person out, but you raise a lot more money because you're asking for $50,000 or $100,000 over 5 years versus asking them to come sit at the table at a gala that you sell for $1,000 or what have you. So the capacity building that goes on in a capital campaign is that you're asking people for large gifts spread out over time, and you can go see new people each of the next few years and try to get them engaged. And so not every charity can go ask somebody for $50,000 because they don't have the relationship, they don't have a cause that's so substantial that people are going to want to invest that kind of money. But there is some level of support that each one of them can start getting, and you can ask people for a specific amount of money to fund a specific project, and it tends to help you raise a lot more money if you tell them what you need versus just invite them to an event and get $100 from each person or even $1,000. So the capacity building is there to learn how to let the professional staff go out and visit with donors and ask them for a specific gift to help their organization. Does that make sense?
That's great. Yeah, that definitely makes sense. And just as we're getting ready to wrap up, just very quickly, David, what are 2 other things, if you could list 2 other things you can use a capital campaign for other than building a new building?
Well, you could create an endowment. You could, if you're in an organization that's doing programming, you can invest in 2 or 3 new programs that you might not be able to afford now. You may want to, if you're an educational institution, you may want to start a new line of study, or you may want to endow a professorship for a certain kind of study so that that will be ongoing training that's going to happen in perpetuity because of the generosity of the people that give to that campaign. So you can also do debt reduction, which isn't a real popular thing.
Right.
You know, it's harder to raise money for endowments and debt reduction because people don't want to pay for tomorrow's foolishness or yesterday's folly. They want to invest in a program that they see the building go up, or they see the program get into place. If you're going to start a new swimming program, in an inner city so that children learn how to swim and don't go out and drown when they go to the beach or go fishing at the river. People like that because they see their money's going to work right now and it's going to save lives right now.
That's great. Okay, well, Jeff, we'll let you have the last word from CDS. What is your website?
Our website is www.cdsfunds.com.
Great. Thank you, Jeff. And thank you, David. You can also find David and Jeff through the roguetulips.com website on our partners page. And I'd like to thank David and Jeff again for joining us today. And as always, my wonderful co-host and friend, Agnes, who does ask incredible questions. Thank you, Agnes. So
Thank
everyone, thank you. And thank you for joining us later in the day where you are.
Glad to do it.
Well, and thanks again, everybody, for signing back in so we could close out this great discussion. David, we'll definitely have you back on another topic. And as we always like to say at the end of one of these episodes, take 15 minutes and talk to somebody about a new idea because you never know what you're going to learn. So thank you very much. Thanks, everybody. And until next Monday.
Great to be with you.
Thank you.